Jack strolled down to his mailbox, the gravel crunching under his boots. It was another searing day on the colony planet Zephyra, with the twin suns climbing high in the sky, bathing everything in a harsh, unyielding light. He wiped the sweat from his brow as he approached the cluster of mailboxes at the end of the lane. "Morning, Jack," called a neighbor, waving from across the street. "Hey, Marla," Jack replied with a nod, his eyes squinting against the sun. Reaching his mailbox, he noticed the stack of envelopes and packages inside was messier than usual. The regular mail carrier, Greg, was meticulous about order, but today everything was haphazardly stuffed into the small metal box. Just as he was sorting through the mail, a figure approached him, clearly the new mail carrier. She was tall and slender, her skin shimmering subtly with shades of blue and purple, a common trait of the Exilianthi. Her eyes, large and expressive, glanced nervously towards him as she approached. "Hi, you must be Jack. I'm Lyra, your new mail carrier. I hope everything is in order. I might have mixed up a few things," she said, her voice a melodic chime that held a nervous edge. "No worries, Lyra. Just getting used to the new hands, I suppose." Jack smiled, trying to put her at ease. "Yes, exactly." She laughed, a sound like the tinkling of glass. "Greg had to leave suddenly for his home planet, and I took over his route. I'm still figuring out where everything goes." Jack handed her a couple of misdelivered letters from his pile. "These aren't mine. Looks like they belong to someone over on Alara Drive." "Oh, thank you for catching that," Lyra said, taking the letters and shuffling them back into her bag. "Still learning the ropes and all. It's quite all right. Takes a bit to get the hang of a new route, doesn't it?" Jack said, leaning against the mailbox post. "It does," Lyra agreed. "And to be honest, I'm also trying to get used to human addresses. They're different from what I'm used to back home." Jack chuckled. "I can only imagine. Zephyra must be quite a change from Zillant." "It's a huge adjustment. Your climate is so intense compared to ours. But it's a beautiful place," she added quickly, not wanting to offend. "We guess it takes some getting used to," Jack nodded. "If you ever need tips on how to handle the Zephyran suns, let me know. Us humans have had to adapt pretty quickly out here." "I might take you up on that," Lyra said with a grateful smile. "Well, I better keep moving. Lots of mail to deliver, and I need to make up for lost time." "Sure thing, Lyra. See you around then?" "Yes, see you." With a quick wave, she was off down the street, her bag of mail slung confidently over her shoulder. Jack watched her go, the curiosity piqued in his chest. It wasn't just her exotic looks, there was something intriguingly genuine about her demeanor. As he walked back to his house, he thought about the upcoming community meeting. Maybe Lyra would be there, and he could learn a bit more about her and her culture. It would make for an interesting conversation, at the very least. The following week, Jack found himself unexpectedly eager to check the mail. As he approached the mailbox, he could see Lyra already there, busily sorting through her bag. "Morning, Lyra," Jack greeted, trying to sound casual. "Good morning, Jack," she replied, her face lighting up with a smile. "I have a couple of packages for you today. And, I hope they're actually yours this time." Jack laughed. "Let's hope so. But hey, the mix-ups give us a chance to chat, right?" Lyra chuckled, handing him a small, square package and a rolled-up poster tube. "True. Speaking of which, how did you find the community meeting last night?" "I saw you there. It was good. Got to meet some new faces." "Did you manage to meet anyone interesting?" Jack asked as he took the packages from her. "Yes, actually. I met your friend Marla. She's quite knowledgeable about local plants and herbs," Lyra said, her eyes sparkling with genuine interest. "That's Marla for you. She could talk for hours about her garden," Jack smiled, shifting the package under his arm. "What about you? Pick up any gardening tips?" "A few," Lyra admitted. "But honestly, I'm more worried about keeping my houseplants alive than starting a garden." "Ah, the eternal struggle," Jack grinned. "If you need help, Marla's your go-to." "Meanwhile, what's this?" he asked, holding up the poster tube curiously. "That's actually a special order from the capital. Art supplies, I believe. The label says it's fragile," Lyra explained. "Art supplies? Now that's interesting. Didn't take you for an artist," Jack said, giving her a playful nudge. "Oh, they're not for me," Lyra quickly corrected. "They're for Todd down the street. I got to deliver his order last week, and we ended up talking about his painting hobby. He's really passionate about it." I know, Todd, but I had no idea he painted. That's what's great about this place. Always something new to learn about someone, Jack remarked. It's wonderful, Lyra agreed. Speaking of which, I've noticed you're quite the tinkerer. Saw some of your handiwork at the meeting. That solar-powered cooler was impressive. Thanks, Lyra. It's just something to keep busy. And it helps out around here too, Jack said with modest pride. Actually, if you're free this weekend, a few of us are getting together to build a new set of solar panels for the community center. Could use an extra pair of hands. Lyra looked intrigued. I'd like that. It would be a great way to learn more about human engineering, and maybe I could actually help out this time. Great. It's a deal then, Jack smiled broadly. And hey, if you ever get a package for me that's filled with exotic alien tech, feel free to mix it up and send it my way. I'll keep that in mind, Lyra laughed. But for now, I think Todd's waiting for his art supplies. Right, let's get this to him then. I'll walk with you, Jack offered, starting toward Todd's house with Lyra. As they walked, their conversation flowed easily from community projects to more personal stories. Jack found himself looking forward to more talks like this, realizing that Lyra's arrival might just be the beginning of a beautiful friendship, or perhaps something even more. Jack was tinkering in his garage when he heard the familiar crunch of gravel underfoot. He peeked around the door to see Lyra approaching with her usual bag of mail. Her steps hurried and her expression a mix of amusement and exasperation. Hey, Lyra, everything okay? Jack called out, wiping his hands on a rag. Hi, Jack. Well, I'm hoping you can help me sort out a bit of a mess, Lyra responded, holding up a thick envelope incorrectly labeled with Jack's address but clearly intended for someone else. Another mix-up. Jack chuckled as he approached her. Yes, and this one's a bit more embarrassing. This is supposed to be a legal document for the Blithorn estate down the road, not something to end up in a private mailbox, Lyra explained, her cheeks tinting a light shade of violet, a sign of her discomfort. Jack took the envelope, inspecting it with a raised eyebrow. Looks pretty official. Let's get this sorted out. You know, I could come with you to deliver it. Turn it into an impromptu tour of the neighborhood. That would be really helpful, actually, Lyra said gratefully. I still get turned around in some of the newer sections. Together they set off towards the Blithorn estate, walking under the shade of the towering dendron trees that lined the streets of their colony. So, how are you settling in otherwise? Getting used to the quirks of our little community? Jack asked, trying to lighten the mood. It's a charming place, truly, Lyra replied, her earlier embarrassment fading away. Everyone has been so welcoming, and there's always something new to learn. Like, did you know that the dendron trees can live for over 5,000 years? I read that in one of the delivery newsletters. That's one of the first things we learned when we settled here. Helps to know your flora when half of it can outlive you, Jack joked. Speaking of learning, how's your weekend looking? Still up for helping with the solar panels? I wouldn't miss it, Lyra confirmed with a smile. I've actually been reading up on solar technology. I want to be useful and not just hand tools around. I'm sure you'll be a natural. Plus, it'll be nice to have another pair of hands. Todd mentioned he's bringing his nephew along, a bright kid interested in engineering. They continued chatting as they reached the Blithorn estate, a sprawling complex that housed one of the founding families of the colony. After delivering the document, which included a few minutes of thanks and relief from the Blithorn's secretary, they headed back. Seems like you're becoming quite the community pillar, Jack remarked as they walked back. Feels like I'm just bumbling around most of the time, Lyra confessed. But thank you for the support. It makes a difference, knowing someone's got your back. Anytime, Lyra. Us humans might not have shiny skin or empathy powers, but we're pretty good at looking out for friends, Jack said, nudging her playfully. Lyra laughed, her earlier nervousness completely gone. And here I thought humans were all about fierce independence. We are to an extent. But what's the point of being on a new world if you can't make new friends? Besides, fierce independence doesn't mean much if you're always getting lost with the mail. True enough, Lyra agreed, her laughter ringing through the air. As they neared Jack's house again, he paused, looking over at Lyra thoughtfully. Hey, if you ever get any packages for me filled with exotic alien snacks, feel free to accidentally misdeliver them to your place first for a taste test. I'll make a note of it, Lyra winked, her tone playful. See you at the solar panel setup. I wouldn't miss it, Jack confirmed, waving as they parted ways, already looking forward to their next collaboration. Jack had just finished setting up the last of the solar panels for the community center when he spotted Lyra approaching. Her stride seemed more hurried than usual, and even from a distance he could tell something was off. "Hey Lyra, everything okay?" Jack shouted over the buzz of conversation among the volunteers. Lyra managed to smile as she got closer. "Hi Jack. Sorry I'm not at my best today. It's just that, well, it's my mating season. It's a bit overwhelming." Jack, holding a power drill in one hand, paused and gave her a concerned look. "Mating season? That sounds intense. Does it affect you a lot?" "It does," Lyra confessed, lowering her voice. "It affects all Silinthi quite profoundly, physically and emotionally. I'm finding it harder to concentrate and keep my emotions in check." Jack set his tool down and gestured to a more secluded spot away from the group. "Let's sit for a bit. You can tell me more about it if that helps." They found a quiet corner by the newly installed panels. Jack listened intently as Lyra explained more about her species' biological cycles. "It's not just a physical thing, it's deeply emotional. We feel everything more intensely. Joy, sadness, attraction," Lyra explained, her voice a mix of fascination and frustration. "That sounds tough to handle, especially away from your home and usual support systems," Jack empathized, noticing the strain in her voice. "It is," she admitted. "But talking about it with someone understanding helps a lot. Thanks for being here, Jack." Course, Jack reassured her. "Why don't you take a break from deliveries to help me out here with the setup? It might distract you a bit." Lyra seemed to consider it for a moment, then nodded. "I think I'd like that. I could use a distraction." For the rest of the afternoon, Jack and Lyra worked together on the community center project. Jack showed her how to connect the wiring for the solar panels and monitor the energy flow. The physical work and focus required seemed to help Lyra regain some of her usual poise. "So, how often does this happen?" Jack asked as they took a break, handing Lyra a water bottle. "Every 5 years. It lasts a few weeks. It's a big deal on Silinth. There are festivals, rituals, all kinds of community events. Here it's just me trying to manage on my own," Lyra explained, taking a long drink. Jack nodded thoughtfully. "That's a lot to handle solo. Back on Earth, we have all sorts of traditions for personal milestones. I guess this is something like that?" "Yes, exactly," Lyra said, a slight smile returning to her face. "It's about connection, celebrating stages of life. I miss that communal aspect. Well, maybe we can't throw a festival, but we can certainly make sure you're not alone through this," Jack offered warmly. "I'd like that," Lyra replied, her smile broadening. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the newly installed solar panels, they packed up their tools. "Thanks for the help today, Jack. And for the company," Lyra said, her eyes reflecting the sunset hues. "Any time, Lyra. And remember, this community is your community too." "We're here for you," Jack said as they walked back towards the town, feeling a new bond of friendship solidifying between them. As they parted ways, Jack watched Lyra walk back to her route with a lighter step. He felt a deep satisfaction knowing he could support a friend in need, a feeling that was becoming a familiar comfort on this distant colony world. After the day's work at the community center, Jack invited Lyra to join him and a few friends for an evening at the local observatory. The place was a favorite hangout for those fascinated by the starry expanse above Zephyra. "Hey Lyra, you up for some stargazing tonight? It's a clear evening, perfect for spotting some of the rarer constellations," Jack suggested as they packed up their tools. "That sounds wonderful, Jack. I'd love to learn more about your constellations," Lyra responded, her eyes brightening at the thought. As twilight descended, they met up with Todd and his nephew, Alex, at the observatory. The building was perched on a gentle hill, its dome open to the universe. "Welcome to our little window to the cosmos," Jack announced, leading the group inside where several telescopes pointed towards the heavens. Todd introduced Alex to Lyra. "Alex here is just starting to get into astronomy. Thought he might like to hear about Silinthi star navigation." "Absolutely," Lyra said, engaging Alex with a smile. "We navigate by a system not unlike your own, but our constellations are quite different." As the night deepened, they took turns at the telescopes. Lyra shared stories of Silinthi skies, her voice mixing with the soft winds that swept over the hill. Later, Jack and Lyra found themselves alone, standing at the edge of the observatory's grounds. The twin moons of Zephyra hung low in the sky, casting a soft glow. Jack turned to Lyra. "You seem more at ease tonight. I hope that means you're feeling better." "I am, thanks to you," Lyra replied, her gaze meeting his. "Jack, there's something I've wanted to tell you." "What's on your mind?" Jack asked, sensing the seriousness in her tone. Lyra took a deep breath. "During mating season, my emotions can become amplified. It can be confusing. But I want you to know that my feelings for you, they're real. They're not just a product of my condition." Jack felt a rush of warmth. "I've been hoping to hear that, but I didn't want to assume. Your friendship means a lot to me, Lyra." "I feel the same way." They stood in silence for a moment, the quiet of the cosmos enveloping them. Then, almost instinctively, Jack reached for Lyra's hand. The touch was tentative at first, but grew confident as Lyra squeezed his hand back. "Could we try this, you and me?" Jack asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, I'd like that very much," Lyra responded, her voice steady despite the emotions they were both feeling. They leaned closer, and Jack felt Lyra's other hand touch his cheek. He closed his eyes, and their lips met softly. The kiss was gentle, exploratory, and full of the promise of new beginnings. As they pulled apart, Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. "This is new for me, Jack, being with a human." "It's new for me too," Jack admitted, "but something tells me it's going to be great." They spent the rest of the evening talking quietly under the stars, sharing thoughts and dreams, the earlier awkwardness replaced by a budding intimacy. As they walked back down the hill, their hands remained intertwined, a silent affirmation of their new connection. When they reached the base of the hill, Lyra turned to Jack. "Thank you for tonight, for everything." "Thank you, Lyra. For trusting me, for sharing this part of your life," Jack replied, feeling a profound sense of connection. As they parted ways, Jack felt something shift inside him, a door opening to new possibilities that he had never anticipated but now eagerly embraced. The weeks following their shared confession saw Jack and Lyra grow increasingly close. Their newfound relationship was a tapestry of shared moments and cultural exchanges that deepened their bond. It was on a quiet, breezy afternoon that Jack invited Lyra to his backyard, where he had set up a small workshop area. "Hey, Lyra, thought we might try something a bit different today. How about we build a model of a basilinthi vessel? I've been reading up on your engineering, and it's fascinating," Jack suggested, laying out the blueprints he had managed to download from an interstellar database. Lyra, looking intrigued and delighted, leaned over the blueprints. "That's a wonderful idea, Jack. It'll be fun to show you how our designs are influenced by both our environment and culture." As they began assembling the model, Jack found himself engrossed not only in the intricacies of Xilinthi technology, but also in Lyra's explanations of how each component was a reflection of her people's values and aesthetics. "You know, your approach to design, it's very holistic. Everything has a purpose and a beauty to it," Jack observed, fitting a curved panel into place. "It's very much a reflection of our philosophy. We believe that everything around us is interconnected, so our creations should be as well," Lyra explained, her hands expertly guiding his. Their project was interrupted by the arrival of Todd and Alex, who had come over to see Jack's latest project. "Hey guys, what's this we're hearing about alien shipbuilding right in our backyard?" Todd joked as he and Alex came closer to examine their work. "Just giving Jack a little taste of Xilinthi engineering," Lyra said with a smile. Alex, ever curious, peered closely at the model. "It looks so different from human ships, more fluid." "That's the idea," Lyra replied. "Our designs work with the environment, not against it." Jack's been a quick learner. The afternoon passed with laughter and shared stories, with Lyra and Jack explaining their project and discussing the differences and similarities between human and Xilinthi technology. As they worked, Jack decided to delve a bit deeper. "Lyra, you've told me a lot about Xilinthi technology, but what about other cultural stuff? Like, do you have rituals or traditions that are important to you?" Lyra nodded, her expression turning thoughtful. "We have many. For example, when two Xilinthi decide they want to be life partners, there's a beautiful ceremony involving the exchange of crystals that represent life's vibrancy." "Sounds beautiful," Jack said, genuinely interested. "Maybe you could show me some of those traditions? I think it's important that I understand all parts of your life." "I'd like that, Jack. It's important to me that you understand where I come from, Lyra agreed, her eyes reflecting a depth of emotion. Their conversation was a gateway to a deeper understanding between them. Jack was not only learning about the technology of another world, but also about the heart and soul of its people, as embodied by Lyra. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the backyard, Jack and Lyra looked at their completed model, a symbol of their collaboration and mutual respect. This was a great idea, Jack. I feel like you're really getting to know me, not just as a Silenthy, but as an individual, Lyra said, her hand finding Jack's. And I'm grateful for that, Lyra. Knowing all these aspects of you, it's like discovering a new horizon every day, Jack responded, squeezing her hand gently. Todd and Alex, sensing a private moment, excused themselves, leaving Jack and Lyra alone under the twilight sky. This is just the beginning, isn't it? Jack asked softly. Yes, just the beginning, Lyra confirmed, leaning into him, ready to explore the myriad paths their journey together might take. A few days later, under the radiant glow of Zephyr's evening sky, Jack and Lyra decided to take a walk through the colony's botanical garden. A serene place where the flora of different worlds were cultivated with care. As they wandered through the lush paths, the air filled with the mingled scents of alien and earth plants, they found themselves discussing more personal subjects. You know, Lyra, ever since we've started spending more time together, I've been thinking a lot about how relationships work here versus on Zillant. Jack started, brushing his hand against a low-hanging fern from Lyra's homeworld. Lyra glanced at him, a gentle smile playing on her lips. It's quite different, isn't it? On Zillant, relationships are deeply rooted in emotional and mental connections. We believe that understanding each other's deepest thoughts and feelings is the foundation of love. That's beautiful, Jack responded thoughtfully. Here, it's often about shared experiences and, I guess, figuring things out as we go. But I like your way, it seems more intentional. They stopped beside a small pond where bioluminescent fish cast a soft light on the water's surface. The peaceful setting seemed perfect for the conversation they were navigating. Jack, I've been meaning to talk to you about something important, Lyra said, her tone becoming serious. Being with you, I feel a connection I haven't felt before. But I want to make sure we're both clear about how we express that, especially physically. Jack turned to face her fully, recognizing the importance of her words. I want to understand, Lyra. Tell me what I need to know. In my culture, physical intimacy is a progression of the bond, not the beginning of one. It's about sharing and receiving in equal measure, with consent being ongoing, Lyra explained, her eyes searching his for understanding. I respect that, Jack assured her, taking her hands in his. And I'm in no rush. We'll take this at a pace you're comfortable with. Lyra nodded, visibly relieved by his response. Thank you, Jack. That means everything to me. Feeling that their relationship was reaching a new depth, they continued their walk, the silence comfortable and reflective. As they rounded a corner, the path led them to a secluded bench under a canopy of star-shaped leaves. Sitting down together, the conversation turned lighter again, filled with laughter and shared dreams. As the night deepened, they both felt the natural progression of their closeness and eventually leaned in for a kiss. It was tender and respectful, an affirmation of everything they had shared and hoped to build together. Pulling back slightly, Lyra touched Jack's face gently. This feels right, doesn't it? It does, Jack agreed, a warm smile spreading across his face. It feels like we're really understanding each other. As they sat there, the sounds of the night garden around them, Jack and Lyra discussed what steps they might take next. They talked about introducing more of their personal worlds to each other. Jack proposed teaching Lyra how to play the guitar, and Lyra was eager to teach Jack some traditional Silenthy meditation techniques. We're blending our worlds, Lyra. And that's a beautiful thing, Jack said as they stood to leave, the botanical garden closing for the night. Yes, it is, Lyra agreed, her voice filled with contentment. Let's keep doing that. They walked back to their separate homes, knowing that the next time they met, it would be with a deeper understanding and a stronger bond, ready to explore more of what it meant to be together in a universe so vast yet suddenly so small. A gentle breeze wafted through the open windows of Jack's home, where he and Lyra had gathered with a few close friends to celebrate the completion of a community art project they had all contributed to. The room buzzed with laughter and the clinking of glasses, filled with both human and Zillanthi celebrants. Lyra, radiant in the soft light, moved through the room with ease, her laughter mingling with the sounds of the party. Jack watched her for a moment, pride and affection evident in his smile. "Looks like you've really taken to our little traditions here," Jack commented as Lyra rejoined him, handing him a drink. "I have," Lyra agreed, her eyes sparkling. "And I think I've managed to blend a bit of Zillanth into them as well." "That you have," Jack chuckled, clinking his glass gently against hers. Todd, overhearing their conversation, joined in with a friendly nudge. "You two have become quite the pair." It's hard to remember a time when Lyra wasn't part of this crazy group. Lyra smiled warmly at Todd. "Thanks, Todd. It feels like I've been here much longer than I actually have. Thanks to everyone's openness and, well, Jack's patience." Jack laughed, wrapping an arm around Lyra's shoulders. "What can I say? I'm a great teacher." "The best," Lyra agreed, leaning into him. As the party continued, Jack decided it was a perfect time to introduce a new surprise. "Everyone, can I have your attention for a moment?" he called out, and the chatter gradually subsided. Jack cleared his throat, his gaze finding Lyra's. "We've all been through a lot together, and it's been an amazing journey of friendship and collaboration. Lyra and I, well, we've started on a new journey together too. And I think it's made all our lives a bit more interesting." There were cheers and claps from the crowd, and Todd shouted, "About time." Lyra laughed, her cheeks glowing with happiness. "Jack's right, and I've learned so much from all of you about humanity, friendship, and even love. But there's more to share. So tonight we thought we'd introduce a little piece of Zillanth to you." With a nod from Jack, Lyra stepped forward to unveil a small holographic projector. She activated it, and a shimmering image of a Zillanthi celebration appeared above them, with lights and colors swirling in a mesmerizing dance. "This is a traditional Zillanthi festival, celebrated during the time of joining what we might consider an engagement, or a deepening of bonds," Lyra explained. "We wanted to share this with you because, in many ways, you've all joined us on this path." The guests watched in awe as the hologram played out the vibrant celebration. Jack squeezed Lyra's hand, grateful for the way she had woven her heritage into the fabric of their shared life. As the image faded, the room erupted in applause. Jack took the opportunity to lean over, whispering to Lyra, "Thank you for bringing your world here." Lyra smiled, her eyes meeting his. "And thank you for making it a home." The party wound down late into the night, with promises to have more gatherings like this one. As the last guest departed, Lyra and Jack stood together, looking over the now quiet room. "It's been quite an evening," Jack said. "Yes, it has," Lyra agreed. "And to think it all started because my alien mail carrier was in mating season and it drove me crazy." They laughed together, the sound filling the space with warmth. This chapter of their lives was just beginning, but both knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, their lives richer for the worlds they shared and the love they had cultivated.